Enter the world, but tread with care. Those roots remember every prayer. Carved from ash, from bone, from flame. The sacred beasts don't play your game. Here change comes, swift on silver wing, with dragonflies that bite and sting. Truth flickers soft and sharp as steel, and every wound must learn to heal. Don't come armed with hollow lore. This world won't let you fake the war. For those who think they understand, you'll bleed the fastest by your hand. So read and ache, be torn apart. These stories rise from broken hearts. With grit and teeth they scream and soar. You've never known a world like this before.
Welcome to Dhampir Sins, Book 1 of the Sacred Beast series by Sarah Yuher. 7. Hermaphrodite. Kage. Kage plucked at his shirt as he looked around the strange room. A counter with a sink was on one wall, a chair in one corner that Kieran was currently taking a nap on, a stool on wheels, and a bed-like thing covered in paper that Kage was currently seated on. Mrs. Squawkle was in his lap, and he lifted the shirt collar to breathe in Kieran's spicy honey scent when the door opened. A man in a white coat entered the room. He had a clipboard Kage recognized as the one Kieran had been writing on when asking him questions. Kieran made a slight noise, but didn't wake up from his nap. The doctor smiled pleasantly at Kage as he rolled the stool to Kage and sat down facing him. His eyes were silver and flecked with royal blue. "Hello, Kage. I am Dr. Michael Baker," the man said as he held his hand out to Kage. His smile never faltered as Kage looked down at the hand but made no move to touch it. Dr. Baker let his hand lower and didn't seem offended as he flipped through the papers on the clipboard. He stood and washed his hands in the sink before pulling on gloves that clung to his hands. The doctor was gentle as he poked and prodded at Kage, examining every part of him, including his fangs. He whimpered when the doctor asked him to remove his pants and tightly curled up on the exam bed. "Can you skip that part?" Kage jumped at Kieran's voice. He hadn't realized the other Dhampir had woken up. "I'd rather not. Some sex Nephilim have a secondary sex, Herma in females or Aphra in males. I wish to see if he is an Aphra-male," Dr. Baker explained as he turned to look at Kieran. Luris of Frostfang's bloodline, Elkin, and Nephilim are typically between 6'3" to 7 feet tall. Kage is only 5'9". This could be due to malnutrition or him being an Aphra-male. "Is there another way to determine if he is an Aphra-male?" Kieran asked. Dr. Baker thought for a moment and nodded. "We could do an ultrasound. Unfortunately, I still need to check his prostate." Kage saw a slight shudder from Kieran at the mention of whatever a prostate was, and he whimpered, curling into a tight ball at the head of the exam bed, farther from the doctor. Kieran sighed, moved over to Kage, and gently patted his shoulder. "I've had a prostate exam before. It doesn't hurt. Just uncomfortable," he said and looked into Kage's eyes intently. "He won't do to you what that asshole did." "Promise?" Kage asked in a tiny voice. "I promise." "And if he tries," Kieran gave the doctor a hard stare, and when Kage looked at the other man, he saw the same pleasant smile. "You'll do something rather painful to me. Thankfully, you have a shadow spark, not a flame spark," the doctor said. Kieran raised an eyebrow at that. "I am immune to fire and heat." "I am aware of that fact. I am also aware that you can find things. I promise I will not cause Kage any more discomfort than necessary for a proper exam." "Can you determine if he's Aphra-male at the same time?" Dr. Baker nodded. "Yes." Kieran let Kage grip his hand as the doctor had him bend over the exam bed. The shorts he was wearing were down around his ankles, too large for Kage to stay around his knees, even with his legs spread. "You mentioned sexual activity last night?" Dr. Baker asked Kieran. "It was more rape than sexual activity." "Did he feed on you last night as well?" "He did. Blood and lust." "Why?" Kieran asked. His voice even. "Sex Nephilim can't feed deeply when they're sexually assaulted, or the sex act is distasteful. For example, a succubus that dislikes anal cannot feed as fully with anal as vaginal, the same for vaginal assault." "Kage shows signs of the assault, but it looks days old," Dr. Baker explained. "So, His feed from me allowed him to heal the damage faster? Kieran asked, and he sounded thoughtful. Yes. Can you tell if he has the secondary sex? Kieran's voice now sounded curious. Kage wanted to know, too, as he looked back at the doctor, who seemed to pick up on their curiosity. Dr. Baker gave them both that pleasant smile. He does, the doctor answered and asked Kieran to look. See this seam here? Between his testicles and anus? That's his vaginal opening. Only about 1 in 10 incubi are afro-males. As you can see, it's beginning to open, which puts his age at around 18 or 19. What does it do? Kieran asked. The same thing a female's vagina does. Are you saying he has a womb? Yes. His prostate acts as a cervix along with performing the same function yours and mine do, and one of his testicles also functions like an ovary as well, the doctor explained. Does he have periods like a woman? Kieran asked. No. While he has menstrual cycles like a woman and can become pregnant, he does not have periods like them, Dr. Baker said. Will you need to examine his vagina? No. It would be painful for Kage if I forced it open, especially since it looks as if it's just now beginning to open. A traditional prostate exam will give me the information I need. Can you include a rape kit in his file? Kieran asked. I can. Would you like to move ahead with a police report? Yes. The doctor nodded and proceeded with the exam. He had been right that it was uncomfortable to feel Dr. Baker prodding at a spot in Kage's, but with his finger. The rape kit was more painful, and Kieran never released his hand. When the doctor wiped the lubricant from his butt, Kage was happy to pull his pants back up and curl up on the exam bed. The doctor wrote notes on his clipboard and pulled out a package with a cotton-tipped stick and a strange container. He then wiped the inside of Kage's cheek and put the stick in the container. Kieran let the doctor draw his blood when Kage whimpered and hid behind the other damper when Dr. Baker asked for Kage's blood. It pinched but didn't hurt. By the time the doctor was done with everything, Kage's tummy was empty and he was itchy all over. His mind focused more on that blood candy Rand had given him earlier than on what the doctor was saying to Kieran. A pair of police officers came soon and Kage didn't want to talk to or answer their questions. They spoke to Kieran and wrote some things before leaving. The doctor left shortly after the officers, and they were left waiting in the room again before a nurse returned with some papers, a crystal, and a small bag. She explained something to Kieran about pills and then sent them on their way. In the car, Kieran gave him a blood candy, and he felt the familiar haze of the dust mixed with the energizing feeling of feeding on blood. It didn't taste as good as Kieran's blood or have the same boost, but it felt nice as he fell asleep in the car's back seat.
"13 souls stolen, 1 rescued from the refuse. A man barely past a boy, raised by bears of blood-soaked oaks. As love grows distant, cotton candy tastes so sweet. Lust and love, what's the difference? The badger jokes and steals, the world sneers and scorns. Blamed for their father's sins, innocent hearts drown in Dhampir sins."